Welcome back to the Canna Connect Show. I'm your host, Steven Eigenman, and today I'm joined with
Natalie Campion, your lovely co-host of Canna Connect.
On today's show, we are sitting down with Tara Falk.
Oh, yeah.
Founder
of Aim and Fire.
Yes, Aim and Fire coming. I mean, they're already here.
They're already here. I mean, the work that they've done is just insane. First off, like the events they've worked with, like what, Bonnaroo?
What you said? Lollapalooza.
Lollapalooza.
I said Bonnaroo, she said Lollapalooza.
Lollapalooza, yeah, that's what it was. I'm like, that's like a big freaking deal. You know what I mean? Austin City Limits too, like.
Yeah, I mean, what the cool thing is with Tara's company, and marketing companies don't necessarily have to be only cannabis.
Right.
She's worked with tech, she's worked with skincare, she's worked with a beverage, and it's cool to see that she can leverage that experience into the cannabis industry and create a higher standard. She touched on compliance, which I know Tommy loved.
Oh, yes. Tommy loves compliance. And I mean, hey, we're going to learn about compliance in other ways too these days.
Yeah, seed to sale. I mean, yeah, so today's interview is really awesome. Aim and Fire, great brand. The industry is like growing as we every time we get together, like the industry grows more and more. We're seeing more licenses come online. I saw just recently Legacy Cannabis in Woodbury is now selling the Dog Walkers brand.
I know. I love the Dog Walker brand.
So that's cool crossover to see. I mean, we're recording just like 10 minutes from Woodbury. So shout out to Legacy Cannabis Woodbury. That's kind of our home shop right now. Shout out to Open Window Productions.
Yeah.
People are loving the set. How do you feel?
I love the set. I mean, just feels like I'm in my living room right now, just hanging out with Steve, right? Talking shop.
Between two hemp plants.
Between two hemp plants.
As I've heard it affectionately referred to as.
I mean, it's always great to see a woman in this industry. I mean, it's dominated by men, and so it's really awesome when you get to see women going out and doing these big things and these big activations with these big brands. And so that's what I'm most excited to hear about from Tara, about just her experience and being in the industry as a woman and all of that that comes with that.
Absolutely. Managing teams, taking shows on the road.
Right. Oh, animatronic dinosaurs, I believe, will be mentioned at some point. So
yeah, this is a great episode. We should acknowledge this is our first woman guest, our first female interview that we've had a female guest. And we want to have more of that.
100%.
That's a part of what we've talked about internally is how can we make sure that the ratios are equal or even above. And that's something that's not easy to do in this industry. And I say easy, it's a 4-letter word. It's not obvious to do.
Correct.
But if you look for it and if you engage in the community, you can certainly find women in cannabis doing really cool things.
Exactly. Oh, man. Yeah.
More to come.
More to come. At Canna Connect, we always have a really great variety of guests, and I'm really excited about this next one. So if you are a new brand, or if you're trying to launch a new product, or even do an event or activation, this is one you got to pay attention to.
Yeah, Tara's got a ton of experience when it comes to trade marketing, as she refers to it, which is it's trade shows, it's distribution partners, it's retail activations, it's the supply chain side of marketing. And I don't think there's enough support there. But if through Aim and Fire, you can certainly find that kind of support. And she's got the background to back it up. She's worked for Cann. She's worked for Jones Soda. She's obviously through her own company, she's done a lot of brand work inside cannabis. And not just like beverage, also the California market, for example, where Minnesota is headed. So flower, extracts, edibles. These are products that we're just not familiar totally yet getting at stores.
Exactly.
Buying from brands. And Tara will shed a light on that and kind of show us the future of cannabis. Welcome back, everybody, to the Canna Connect Show. I'm your host, Steven Eigenman. Today, I'm joined by Tara Falk, founder of Aim and Fire. Today, we're going to talk about experiential marketing, trade marketing, the secrets to growing a brand in the field, as well as some of the top brands in the country that Tara's had experience working with, as well as some of the downsides of working in a new industry with new products. Beyond that, we're going to try Coco Flow and talk about kind of what we're excited about as it relates to hemp beverage and where we see opportunities as we fight for this category.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I'm psyched to be here, to be with you again in Minnesota, one of my favorite places in the country. Excited to try Coco Flow for the first time and give the people of Minnesota and far beyond the information they need to take their brands where they're going.
Amazing. Yeah, if anybody wants to reach out right off the bat, check out Aim and Fire and subscribe on YouTube, where we're debuting the show today. Today we're here with Tara Falk, founder and owner of Aim and Fire LA, Aim and Fire Productions.
Aim and Fire.
Aim and Fire.
No more need be said.
Yes, yes, no doubt. Fellow Midwesterner. I swear I went through your LinkedIn profile. You've had like 43 jobs.
Yeah, contracts. I did a lot of freelance and contract-based work early in my career for agencies, brands, dozens, if not hundreds.
Right.
So those experiences lasted anywhere from a few weeks to a few months to years of recurring activations and opportunities. So there is a lot to sift through and very diverse in subject matter, tech, beauty, CPG, railroad industry, funeral expos, you name it, a little bit of everything. So bringing all of that context into what we do at Aim and Fire.
Totally. And cannabis is not some like hard to replicate industry when it comes to the experiential marketing, right? It was a logical niche.
Yes, it's subject matter that I'm really passionate about. I've been a cannabis consumer for half of my life, and it used to be something that didn't integrate at all with my career and my professional persona. In fact, it would directly threaten those opportunities. Drug tests are involved, lots of different things here and there, depending on the opportunity.
Yeah.
When I moved to Los Angeles, I had a big awakening in realizing that the cannabis industry is not just growing, trimming, or selling. There are places for the skill set that I have to be applied. I kind of realized all at once, weed is brands now, which is kind of crazy because I had been to dispensaries, I had purchased brands, but it wasn't until I stumbled into a contract role with Cann, actually, wound up managing their first LA field team, that I realized that there was significant need in that department and also need for refinement in the systems and strategies and the way that brands were showing up, because the standard of delivery I saw was just a little different than what I was used to in more mainstream spaces.
Developed markets. Okay, let's stay there with Cann. Can we?
We can.
Give me a time frame of Hemp Beverage. Cann, this is very early hemp beverage.
Very early. I would say that Cann kind of paved a lane, popularized the idea of the low dose infused beverage.
Small can.
Yes, small can, 2 milligrams, 5 milligrams, tall boy. Yeah, so they're very light, sessionable, sociable, revolutionizing social drinking.
Absolutely. And as a cannabis user, stepping into a role with a brand inside of industry, like a sect of marketing that you're very familiar with, what was it like to see cannabis in a can? And like, not just what it looked like, but from a consumer standpoint, because obviously we know it's a hot topic right now. Talk about like the advantages to putting cannabis in a can from a user standpoint, from a destigmatization standpoint, and what you actually saw in the field as it relates to that job.
Definitely. Discreteness, access. It's no longer an issue of where you consume or being seen consuming, because there's no difference in perception of someone sipping a can. It doesn't matter what's in the can. We've long seen stealth versions of different substances in this can or that can, but more so than that, it was actualizing, because it kind of married something I was always really interested in and using for its benefits in my life with the career I've always had, which is, boiling all of that benefit and, interest down to a brand, to something you can hold in your hand that's tangible, that you can get on board with. And immediately, I think it opened up a whole new world for me. And obviously I was not the first to this world. I kind of fell in the way I've fallen into a lot of things, which is really organically and naturally. But I kind of immediately put my stake in the ground and I said, this is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm going to do. So Cann was an awesome experience. It was really cool to see them duplicate our efforts from California into 7, 8 more markets, where they immediately expanded Cann into other initially regulated markets.
Right.
But then very soon after, things began to change,
Sure.
centralized very much so here in Minnesota.
Right.
So this was closely preceding that time where hemp beverages had their opportunity to expand, and we saw a great shift from the regulated market brands into where they were channeling their resources and their focus.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot to touch on there. This Cann initially launched through dispensaries. And so when this role that you played within Cann's marketing team, this was prior to you starting Aim and Fire?
It was, yes.
And so was this also during pandemic, or was it pre-pandemic?
It was during the pandemic.
During
yeah.
pandemic.
Yes. So we were all masked up. I actually have branded Cann masks to this day in my place because we needed them in that time.
Yeah.
I moved to Los Angeles in 2020, January 2020. Skating on savings, looking forward to continuing my career in events and activations. And it was a terrible time to arrive in Los Angeles expecting that. So I took a few steps back to take a few steps forward,
Right.
but really found that the executive assistants and random gigs I was picking up during that time,
Yeah.
it actually gave me exactly the insight and kind of the, LA experience that I needed to make all of this click and realize what I should do.
Wow. So I can't imagine it's easy to get a job. It's certainly not easy to activate from an event marketing standpoint in 2020 in California. Where did Cann and where did you activate? What were some of those early activations? What did you go after? Where was the...
We had great fun. Cann was really a unique experience because of so much celebrity support, investor backing.
Right.
We had opportunities to release collaborative products with artists like Tovlo and have huge parties in Malibu with the DJs and all of the above. So there was lots of private events that were produced to allow us a space to sample freely.
Okay.
Public activations at that time. We've all grown more understanding of the compliance factors and what can be done, what can't be done. And especially at that time, it was very prevalent in the conversation. This being so new, bringing it out into the world was a very delicate issue to breach. So we did do some street team activations, but most of the time we would utilize what they called Cann Virgins, which is the uninfused version of the product.
Sure.
So that is something I still advocate for
It's a
as
cheat
a
code.
massive luxury and cheat code. If any brand has the ability to create an uninfused version of their product that they can sample and give people an idea of the taste, they will be inclined to pursue, experiencing the effects.
Totally. We're kind of in a weird place right now for hemp beverage but as I think back to the advice that I've given or what I've seen in 2024 and 2023, like having the non-dosed version gives you so much more room to activate your brand, tell your story, and then get people wanting, I do want to try the actual dosed version because I like what I've heard. The foundation has been set inside the consumer's mind.
Even if they're not looking for the effects, even if they think that's not something that they need, if they taste the virgin version of the product and they love it, they might find themselves trying it out, and it might be something that they really enjoy. So I think that it opens things up even wider and encourages everyone to participate, even in settings where you're not looking for an effect or you wouldn't be a customer. You still get that can in their hands, and it still becomes part of the scene and the setting. So, so many benefits.
What other best practices would you advise, or have you advised cannabis brands or hemp, let's call it hemp beverage brands, like, because you've worked for one of the industry leading brands or one of the pioneers within the cannabis beverage space, like you've gone on and worked on other brands as well. I guess take me through some of your other experience, and then we can talk about maybe, what you've seen as best practices.
Definitely. After Cann, shortly after Cann, is when I launched Aim and Fire, and I essentially did it to focus on the same department that we were leading, which is field and trade and ambassador programs. Saw just immense need in that category, not only with beverage brands, but flower, concentrates, vaporizers, you name it, everything. After Cann, one of our first big engagements with Aim and Fire was with Jones Soda and Mary Jones.
Okay.
As they were launching their infused line extension into California initially, but then ultimately nationwide.
Was Mary Jones a dispensary brand initially?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Regulated as well. And they began in the California market. In no way is that a coincidence. This was directly off the tail of the success that brands like Cann had seen in the market. So California was the sole focus initially. I was recruited by a corporate recruiter about a full-time job, but as things sometimes go, you know, the need, it ebbs and flows, and sometimes that's pushed back. Luckily, we had Aim and Fire existed, and there was an opportunity for them to engage us instead for a fractional version of very similar leadership areas of expertise.
Right. And when you talk about trade marketing, I know that's more familiar in the beverage world, but for folks that are watching that aren't familiar with what trade marketing is, like, how would you describe that as a part of your overall marketing mix?
Absolutely. Trade marketing to me, that is the way that you reach your partners, your actual business partners, your retailers, your supply chain, seed to sale. It's everything from your B2B trade shows to your merchandising to your account touch points and the way that you deal with the entire process of communicating with your customers, potential customers, not on the consumer side though. So for me, field and trade are two arms of the same body that we have, because when we visit a retailer, we are there to reach consumers, but we are also there to strengthen our relationship with the staff on site.
Sure.
We're there to make sure they absorb the same information that we're relaying to consumers so that they can do that on our behalf when we leave the store, and that keeps giving over time.
Right. And the elephant in the room, because this is the Canna Connect show, we're trying to provide an open window into the community, our brand, the industry at large. Like the part you left out, but I know you in your head you're talking about, it's also the wholesalers.
Of course, yes.
Right.
Right.
And
seed to sale. It is everyone involved in getting the product in the hand of the consumer.
Right.
Anyone who's involved before that, that's the trade.
Right. Heard. Yeah, Lauren Bertrand comes to mind. She's the trade marketing manager for Wink. We've got a great relationship with Lauren, and we love what they do at Wink. But with Jones, maybe not the smoothest of rides overall. I mean, maybe coming out of the pandemic, a little bit of challenge.
Absolutely.
How quickly did things shift from dispo to hemp, as I like to call it? You know, from like 2022 probably was when, at least here in Minnesota, when things started to, pallets of beverages started to flow, not just CBD water, but you started to see THC sodas. 2022, 2023, really 2023 was, but like, how long did that contract last with Jones?
I was with Jones for almost, I want to say close to 2 years. Wow. About a year engaged through our agency, and then I did come on full time with them for a short time during national expansion and the push to shift to the hemp side from the regulated side.
Sure. And we crossed paths around that time, or around that time, I would say, which was so funny because at the time I was bagging Jones gummies, and you were coming off, or currently, in the process of coming off that brand and moving on to better pastures or moving on to new opportunities. So that was kind of funny. We met online. I'm not quite sure exactly.
Me neither.
LinkedIn or Instagram, and then we had happy hour at one point together, and this is probably only like our second in-person conversation.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't feel like it at all though, because I stay really on top of what you guys are doing here, and I feel like I hear from you, and I hear from you in your own voice so often that it doesn't feel like our second time meeting.
Yeah.
Something really cool about what you're doing with Canna Connect is that I felt very comfortable reaching out and starting a real relationship, because that's what you're inviting people to do.
Absolutely.
And I really hope they hear that. I hope they take advantage of it, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know who you don't know. And that's what we are doing for each other, is really connecting the dots and making sure people get what they need to get where they're going.
Absolutely. And when it comes to like people that we do know, one of the conversations that came up in our first meeting was like how far back you go with Stephen Brown from Nothing But Hemp.
It's crazy. It's completely unrelated. And what I will stress is how supportive he has always been, and how validating he has always been before any of this was a thought in either of our minds. I've known Steven, I would say, since 2013.
Wow.
And he was the marketing manager for a company called Blue Star Productions, for which I was touring with a traveling dinosaur exhibit. Animatronic dinosaurs in trade show, convention halls. We were in a new hall every week, and I spent almost 5 months on the road with that operation. I was the youngest person on the crew. I was 19 at the time.
Yeah.
I actually visited my first recreational dispensary on that tour, but I couldn't go inside.
No.
It was in Colorado, and we went because there was a huge dinosaur outside. I'm sure some people know which dispensary I'm talking about. My whole crew went inside. I had to wait in the car. I was 19.
You were the rookie on the team.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And
Wow.
it was 12 of us in a 12-passenger van from place to place in very, very dingy, seedy motels. But I have had never more fun since.
No kidding. Yeah.
Really a blast, and it allowed me to see the country and city shop, and I think we visited 14 states on that tour. It was awesome. And Steven was kind of my corporate line. He was
Okay.
the guy I could really call if I had a problem.
Sure.
And because I was leading the merchandising of the gift shop and the box office ticket sales, I had kind of a twofer of
Okay.
leadership roles on
Okay.
this team.
Wow.
Steven was my guy, and we did a lot of troubleshooting together and just kind of musing on how to improve our systems and
Yeah.
how to make things smoother for us on the road.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, one of the things that helped Steven early on in the hemp industry is that this wasn't his first rodeo, that he had a background in marketing, he had a background in supplements, and came into the industry not as a first-time founder, where many folks in this industry that I've seen in the last 5-6 years in hemp and cannabis at large in Minnesota, like this is their first venture out on their own. And I think experience pays dividends, especially
That's for
as entrepreneurs. So as it relates to tours and travel, how, one of the things that I wanted to talk about in a sense is like, because cannabis is locked in state by state, you're not able to go on a 14-state tour with XYZ brand, right? You're working in California, you're working in Colorado, now some of these multi-state operators may have initiatives that allow them to go state by state, but like that is not the norm.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, I was going to point out, some loopholes there where you can travel with the same assets and then work with your individual,
Okay.
distributors or manufacturers in each location to make sure that that's still happening
Sure.
compliantly. There are ways to do it. I think the real important part there becomes the strategy, the routing, and the assets,
Right.
reflecting each of those markets appropriately. Probably have to rework the print for each of those markets
Right.
and signage and things like that, which would add some cost.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is definitely doable, and that is a burden. Yeah, it's
Right.
tough. It's tougher than the other industries that I have toured for, but
Yeah.
it is doable.
Trade shows are inherently expensive. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
So strategy is a huge part of optimizing or keeping your operation efficient. Some of the things that come to mind as I think about like what I've seen you do is like talk about some of your best activations. You've been at Austin City Limits. I want to say you've been to Bonnaroo, but like talk about some of the top large productions that you've been a part of, and like what stands out from like not just cannabis, but like what stands out from like a best practices for brands.
Yeah, I think what's really worth mentioning is that our largest traditional production agency contract came from a cannabis industry connection.
Wow.
It was a client from the cannabis industry that moved on from the business he was running that had been booking us, that moved on to CAA.
Okay.
And immediately called us in because we had formed such a close working relationship that he trusted us.
Wow.
And we have been working on really large activations with them since Lollapalooza, you mentioned, Austin City Limits, the U.S. Open, actually 4 different tennis opens over the course of the year. In
Wow.
2025, we
Okay.
have been sampling for a major international skincare brand.
Oh,
and
wow.
protecting folks from the sun out there
Smart.
to the tune of millions of samples. And that will continue into 2026. We've got all 4 opens lined up again next year.
Cool.
And we have been also managing the sporting sponsorship activations for many different soccer and basketball teams in California.
Okay.
Just a little interesting pre-game fan activations, activities folks can do when they're filing into the stadiums. And those are very consistent, happening almost constantly. And we have stable teams placed that are managing those activations, field manager, team of brand ambassadors, and they manage the local storage, they manage the inventory control.
Wow.
They really top to bottom manage these programs for our clients. It's not that we are, being delegated to. Once we're in the mix, we're kind of leading the activation and ensuring they get everything they need to channel those reports up. And really grateful to have both sides of the business to lean on, because it helps us have more room to point ourselves at the cannabis industry, because often this is a labor of love where budgets are smaller. The luxury of experience for many of us and many of the brands we aim to serve here, it's not there as significantly as it is with some of our other clients. So that is something that sets us apart, because it proves the level that we're performing at and delivering at. But it also gives us a buffer that we're not going anywhere. We're not in danger of drying up next year and ceasing to exist, ceasing to offer these services. You won't see that happen because we're diversified.
Hell yeah. Yeah. So if a brand is watching and wants to get in touch with Aim and Fire, like, what is the onboarding process? What are the things you need to know that you like to have prior to an engagement?
Yeah, I usually create all of our quotes and programs to spec after an initial discovery with anyone who's interested. I've seen price decks for related services, and I always think that a one-size-fits-all approach is never going to be dialed into the tune I would like it to be dialed in, because there are so many factors that go into the actual lift of what we're doing, whether it's frequency of activations, regions that they need to occur, number of kits we have access to, the assets that we're expected to manage, whether we're actually scheduling the activity with accounts or just mobilizing staff on that activity.
Sure.
Those all equate to slight fluctuations.
Yeah.
And I've also found our clients just prefer to see things in different forms. So I tend to offer a few different options, whether it's a flat hourly rate and you just want to see what the hours cost, a retainer where you get reduced hourly billing, but we have more of a predictable agreement that allows you to have all of your coordination handled, or, the traditional agency model, which is kind of a percentage on anything that we're booking. I really want to give it to our clients in any form they'd prefer to consume it.
Yeah.
Because we're here to serve you. I'm not here to tell you what we should be doing, right? I don't do annual contracts. We don't do, you can't change or up or down what we're doing. Like, we're very, very flexible. I think that's in our best interest and everybody else's.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, I think we should take a little bit of a break and maybe crack a Coco Flow.
Let's crack a Coco Flow.
Or we can both crack a Coco Flow. One thing to note on the can here, I sometimes forget this, but for a good time, gently roll the can before opening. And
I like that.
It's for the emulsion inside. We have 8 milligrams of THC, but we also have 32 other milligrams of the minor cannabinoids like CBC, CBD, CBG, CBN. And we wanted to kind of reset the room as it comes to hemp beverage to say, I take a pretty strong stance that there's more to THC beverages than just THC. And also as a user, but also a functional like a person that likes to use cannabis to increase my my activity, not slow down my activity. I'm more of a sativa user, and cannabis keeps me up at night more than like smoking a bowl and going to bed. So like putting as many cannabinoids into the product as possible is something that no matter what beverage I'm making, that's something that I always want to be doing. Nice. And then on the flavor side, we really allowed our partners at Back Channel to help. That's what they do best. They brew beer. They have experience steeping lemongrass. I do not. Don't have a long history of steeping lemongrass, but like we brought the coconut water idea to the table. We were inspired by Breeze to some degree with the success that they're having. But really, we were cannabinoid first, and then also vibe. We picked out Back Channel Brewing. They're on Lake Minnetonka. They're 8 years into the game, so they're an award-winning beverage brewery brand. And yeah, that's just a little bit of the backstory. And like, ultimately, we learned a lot in the collaboration, in the sense, like, with this one, we probably led too much with the idea and not enough on like the vision of long-term, how does this sell? So we're not actually seeing Coco Flow hitting new stores currently, but we have a backstash. And so we're using this show as an opportunity to bring more light to Coco Flow, but also to like have conversations about cannabinoids, because I truly believe there's more to cannabis than just THC.
Of course there is.
And I think hemp beverage brands have gotten it wrong.
I agree completely. I really, really do. We have an endocannabinoid system for a reason, really good reasons. And
All throughout our entire body.
yep, and my experience has been that I have realized slowly over time that THC was a side effect of the things I was actually looking for and actually benefiting from in using cannabis. Much like you, I don't use cannabis to mellow out, to slow down. I use it to kind of narrow in my focus because I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of priorities. I'm a little scattered in that way. And I think cannabis helps me focus, right? I mean, we know a lot of people who say, you know, you do cannabis to this, I do cannabis to fold my laundry and like get things done. I've always related a lot to that. And I've realized over time that it's the minor cannabinoids that are giving me what I'm looking for. The THC, the high, is actually something that I could do without. As I've, you know, progressed in my experience, I've realized that it's not what I'm looking for. And I no longer even have that feeling. I don't get high anymore. I can't remember the last time that I felt like that's what I was.
Right.
Because I'm a daily medicinal user. And the THC, I'm not mad that it's there.
Right.
But it's not the main attraction.
We're dreaming up 10 to 1, 50 to 1 ratios. We want to really play, how large is the box? And can we touch all the walls?
Yeah.
And not just focus on, it's a zig versus egg. Like, you go to Total Wine or you go to Top 10 Liquors, you're going to see a ton of THC products. And some of the major players will say, we've tried minor cannabinoids, but it just doesn't sell as well.
You have to educate people about why they want it.
Yes.
Have they educated anyone about the benefits of those minor cannabinoids in the same way that we market THC content and percentage as like the, you know, the end all be all of why you would want something.
Right.
And I don't think we have. I think that the effort has not been made to really ensure the success of those products. So I agree that I've heard similar feedback that it's just not moving the needle. It's not what's selling. But you really need to stay and keep explaining in order for that to catch on. And I think that's another reason that what we do is so important, because if you launch a product like that, there's not someone in the store telling you why these things are beneficial or what sets this product apart from the other products on the shelf. That's such an easy differentiator and selling point. You have many products that are largely similar in their formulation on the shelf, and there's one with something different that the others do not have. It's kind of a no-brainer, right? You're gonna want more.
Right. Yeah. So when we're ready, we'll aim and fire.
Yeah, please do. Absolutely. All right, we're gonna crack it.
Let's crack it. 1, 2.
That was perfect unison,
Snap,
Steven.
pop. Yes. Cheers.
Cheers. First sip.
You'll notice the sea salt.
I love the sea salt.
And then the pineapple comes in. Then the lemongrass comes
This is great. This reminds me of one of the, in a good way, one of the early, was it a can flavor? It's the lemongrass. They do have a lemongrass flavor. Lavender lemongrass? Yeah, that's it. That's what it's reminding me of. But that's just the lemongrass, of course. The sea salt is really good. This is better than I expected it to be, and I expected it to be good.
And you like coconut?
I do. I was telling the squad before we started recording that one of my favorite smoothies is a coconut milk, raw coconut and ginger smoothie.
Sure.
Just dump this right in there.
Yeah, the adult.
Dump that thing right in
Hell
there.
yeah. Well,
Great.
And like, we'd love to get to a point where not only are we providing education, but we're also creating a product that can be used as a mixer to then elevate whatever it might be. And it doesn't have to be the whole can in your smoothie. Maybe you're making a smoothie for 2, or maybe a smoothie for 4, or an adult, like the blender drinks. Like,
Right.
there's so much that you can learn and take from the alcohol industry or the wellness industry that can be applied with cannabinoids. And I think a lot of folks just rush to put out a 5% lager or a 10% IPA equivalent, right? Obviously the flavors are different, how you make it's different. But to bring it back to Minnesota, so much of the hemp beverage boom has come through breweries, and them seeing this as a lifeline
Yes.
through those early years, like really through your aim and fire experience, your career thus far as a founder. Like, in those years, so much has changed within the Minnesota microbrewery, craft brewery, and not just Minnesota, all across the nation.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're verging into alcohol alternatives. We wound up working with one of the local breweries, Flying Cloud, on our Terpsy beverage line expansion. And we've had a great experience with them. They're wonderful people. We have really had a great time bringing beverages to an existing gummy line, and they've been really well adopted. So
Awesome.
I really appreciate that. That has provided a lifeline for so many businesses that are, it's honestly beautiful that the rise of one thing is detracting a bit, and that they're able to get involved and be part of that wave as well. It really kind of balances the scales and allows us all to link arms and advocate for one another. And it's been really reassuring to see the way the breweries and the alcohol industry have been standing behind the hemp industry and getting more vocal and saying, you can't do this to us either.
Right.
We need this.
Right, they do. And it's fitting that, as one thing increases, one thing declines. Like, I mean, it's very yin and yang of society, of our world. Like, that is kind of, energy doesn't ever disappear, it just transfers. Then the latest thing that I heard, which was just yesterday, that one of the policy representatives within the craft beer industry here in Minnesota said that he's never seen so much unity between the 3-tier system inside of Minnesota.
Wow.
Now, there's supply chains and 3-tier systems all across the country. What happens in Minnesota is not necessarily representative of what's happening in Kentucky, for example, but what I was hearing is, the manufacturers, the wholesalers, and the retailers have aligned or are continuing to further align within this topic of not banning hemp beverages. Although I do believe that the counterpoint is we can't call everything hemp, because that is a misnomer to say that THCA flower is hemp, HHC vapes are hemp. There has to be some further constraint around what is defined as hemp, because it's certainly not industrial hemp. And I know there's some haters out there that say hemp has to be rope. It's like, well, I started a hemp t-shirt company. It's not very easy to sell hemp t-shirts because they're more expensive, and we don't have the infrastructure in America to realistically make hemp products, because they were banned to import up until 1991. So, like, when I was born, you couldn't even import hemp products, right? The 2018 Farm Bill removed it from the Controlled Substances Act. I mean, that's how far restricted industrial hemp was prior to the Farm Bill. Yes, is the loophole allowing for maybe too many products to be categorized as hemp, especially in states like California, where there's challenging regulatory frameworks around cannabis. It's expensive to operate a cannabis business, regardless of what state you're in, especially in Illinois, especially in California, Washington. Yes, I can totally understand the distaste for hemp as it relates to loopholes and flour being sold online that has a COA that says it's hemp, but really once you get it, it's far from it.
Yeah.
But Minnesota has created the regulatory framework that seems to be reasonable, that works for the alcohol industry. And yes, there's about to be a adult use cannabis cannabis industry fully online in 2026 and 2027. But I believe that it's a great on-ramp, not only for brands, but also for consumers to try a low-dose product and to get their hands on something that is comfortable to get at Cup Foods, but maybe not uncomfortable for them to get at Legacy Cannabis, for example, in Woodbury, now open. But the idea, and I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but like I think it's worth stating on a week where there's so much noise around hemp. It's like this is not an inherently dangerous product if you regulate it accordingly, and it's also an on-ramp for so many brands, so many consumers, and ultimately it helps grow the overall user base of cannabis users. Let's not worry about too much whether you're using 5 milligrams or 50 milligrams. There's a place where you can get either. They maybe shouldn't be in the same place.
Right. And one thing I'll mention is that oversight is really important. And I think that rather than arguing about bad actors, what we need is help weeding them out. We need actual checks and balances. We need people in these markets. We need relationships with our regulators and our overseers.
Yeah.
And that's something I have not seen even in more established regulated markets. So I think there is onus on each side of the situations because we don't intervene. There's no intervention. I've seen few and far between fines applied and products pulled for compliance issues, but
Right.
I could point to 100 more that have never seen so much as a notice.
Yes.
So I really am an advocate for compliance because I believe that that's how we get where we've never been before. I think that we have to show that we can govern ourselves. We can be held accountable. We can read a document and understand it. We can follow clear instructions on what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
At the same time, I understand that the loophole conversation is kind of it's an example of us being given an inch and taking a mile. And sometimes you have to do that to get where you need to go faster. But that said, I think that there is a line, and I think the line is clearer than we like to pretend that it is. I think that
Yeah.
especially in California in the regulated market, brands don't hold themselves to the standard of compliance that's clearly written on paper, especially in terms of activations, private event sponsorships that are not private, where tickets are clearly being sold. It's obviously open to the public, and they will still freely sample cannabis or offer free product to be given to those guests. It's like these are things that we know we are not supposed to be doing. It's on paper, and we talk compliance all day long, but you look left, you look right, it's still happening everywhere by leading brands in the market. So it's another thing that we do is kind of gently remind what we really can and can't do. And we try not to activate in the situations, and we really do steer clients and ourselves away from something if it is not completely above board.
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. You know, as I'm thinking and as I'm listening as you're talking, it's like, where can you find the strongest hemp products? I'll give you option A, B, or C. Where can you find the strongest hemp products for sale on store shelves? Is it Minnesota? Is it California? Or is it Wisconsin?
You mean like the strongest,
Hemp
widely accessible hemp? I would say Wisconsin.
Yeah, from
Absolutely, 100%, because the infrastructure isn't there the way it is in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And in California, I was in California working with a regulated market brand that then started offering this was a mess, and this is worth talking about. There was press about this. We launched our hemp version of the product in California at the same time we had a directly comparable product on dispensary shelves. And the difference in dosages was not really enough to prevent competition in that way. So that definitely upset our retailers.
Yeah.
It definitely upsets the new retailers of hemp that are realizing you can go get the stronger stuff at the dispensary. And just because the groundwork has not been laid, it's a little counterintuitive to what we're insisting about these necessary channels for low dose and high dose beverages. I do believe in that, but we were definitely jumping the gun in California,
Sure.
as evidenced by the Department of Health putting out a massive notice calling us out by name, saying this is dangerous, and it's being pulled from every shelf. That is bad press.
Right.
And that right there was the start of me being on my way out.
Okay.
Because I saw it coming. I, advocated against it. I was expressing the outcome that I could see happening, and that outcome all came to be.
Wow.
But we still proceeded with that, and we still made an example of ourselves.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
So in some ways, like having a 5 milligram product available at Cub Foods and having a 10 or a 20 milligram product available at dispensary is cannibalizing your own brand and creating a lot of confusion in the marketplace. If your logo is the same, the brand is the same, But option A is available in mass retailers and option B is available in cannabis retail only. Not something you would advise brands to do.
This particular company that we're referring to recently sold off all of the assets related to the regulated brand, which is under the same name and branding as the hemp side. So these are visually identical products with the same brand name that are now owned by completely separate entities being run in completely different ways.
Wow.
And I would say on neither side is there any like subject matter expertise or like any historical experience that would, make us all feel better about that.
Really?
But yeah, the brand that I worked on for 2 years was unloaded in an asset sale this year.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I took a lot of pride in the talking points that brand was in charge. We actually own. This is not a licensing deal. This is not an illusion.
We are investing in, we are staking our claim. This is us. This is Tara's Soda Company and we're doing it.
Right. Not anymore.
Nope, not anymore.
Not anymore. It was too hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is. It's very hard, but
Right.
put up or shut up.
Absolutely. I mean, California now has banned hemp products off the
Correct.
shelves and
Yes.
probably partially due to the
Yes.
experience that you had.
Correct.
Which, my mom's like, hey, I'm worried about you. I heard about the hemp beverage ban. It's like, Minnesota has great regulations, and we've created a framework that has been copied and is seen as leaders. And like, there are a lot of jobs at stake. And not to continue to rehash this, but like, hemp beverages make sense when regulated properly. And not just hemp beverages, because I feel for the gummy guys, as well. It's like, we don't have to do, next week, Spencer and I are really going to dive into that 4-letter word. But to think that all the work done on the CBD side, I think about the early days of Minnesota hemp products like tinctures, gummies, edibles, etc. To think that it's just going to be commandeered by a bunch of hemp beverage bros, I don't believe in that.
No, I don't believe in that either. And I think that's why we're so loud and vocal about the work that we're doing, because if we're not, it gets brushed under the rug and the credit is taken by someone else that wasn't even in the market, wasn't even there,
Right. Early on.
Pretty much weren't even there.
Yeah.
And it really is important. It's super important. And that's why Aim and Fire exists, so that can't keep happening to us. And we can be a resource to anyone who needs it, even if they fail, even if they don't properly leverage the work that we do for them.
Yeah.
We can still help others. There are so many people that are looking for exactly what we can provide them.
Yeah.
They can't do what they're trying to do alone, and they need these resources, not only the resources that we have, but all of the resources that you're spotlighting here, which is why this is so important. And we'll keep going to bat for you guys and pulling up for things like this, because they control the narratives in the press releases. They control the narratives on stage at the trade shows, but that's not where we're really working.
Right.
It's just not where anything is actually happening. And I think we need to listen to the people that are getting the intel that could prevent these problems before they start. And so often we reduce their contributions, we ignore them, we dismiss them, and we sometimes outright fire them for making them known. That's absolutely happened to me. It's happened to many of my peers, and we can move forward and we can keep talking about it.
Yeah, no doubt. If folks want to keep talking to you, where's the best place to reach out?
Yeah, you can reach us. We're super active on Instagram because it gives us a great place to show visual reference to what we do and allow you to kind of get a feel for it and see it in action. So we're on Instagram at Aim and Fire. You can reach out to me directly via email. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to get in touch with. I'm very responsive. We can talk about anything. Talk about your launch strategy. Talk about revamping your field team if you're struggling. Talk about getting you out of the field so you can build your business, because so many founders are in a place where I have also found myself, where you're kind of doing everything yourself, and you need to empower other people to build other lanes of your business. And so many founders are at their own tables at retail, and they have 10 to 20 things that would be benefiting their business more. But I respect that so much. And those are honestly the exact businesses I would want to be working with.
Yes.
Are those whose founders care enough to be doing that themselves, even months and years into owning their business.
Yeah.
I want those people to trust in us and recognize that we'll show up in a way that people ask us if we own the business.
Right.
And we proudly say no.
Yeah.
Reach out to the person who does if you are interested. But we just take a
want
lot
to
of
create
pride.
that impression.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's my favorite question to get after a conversation with someone at like a simple sampling is, this is your business? Because that's the feeling that they get from how excited we are to tell them about the product.
Yeah.
They're like, why would you care so much if you're not the one benefiting? And I can give you a lot of reasons, but it's important.
Amazing. Well, that's the Canna Connect show. This is Tara Falk. Thank you so much for being here today, and
Thank you.
look forward to staying in touch.
Absolutely. Always.
Good to see you.
You too.